Darin, when I first received the note that you wanted to come on, first of all, very thankful. I called my good friend Mike Palencia over at Ryder and I said, Mike, what do you think? He goes, Darin and the team are playing chess while everybody else plays checkers. I said, that's it. He's coming on the show. Mr. Chess Player, sir, how are you playing chess?
First off, delighted to be here. Thank you for having us, listener, of course, of the road to the autonomy. And I appreciate the way that you frame autonomy, by the way. It's not a science fiction, but as this economic transition. I think that's what Mike might be thinking about too, and he might be a little bit generous in the way he thinks of us, but right type of spirit, I think. And I think, what he's seen from us and what we're delivering, we're in partnership with Ryder, is that the yard, as you may know, is one of the last blind spots between the warehouse and transportation. Most of the industry has tried to modernize it, but they've piecemealed in these point solutions, maybe a gate tech here or there, and then YMS that might be dated, RFIs, a little bit of clumsy RFID experiments throughout the yard. And what's happened is they're not an end-to-end scalable full stack solution that can support that autonomous yard of the future. And that is the holy grail of every company that we're talking to, is how can you help us? How can you be a transformation partner to drive us to that eventual autonomous yard of the future, which is, through the AVs is 2, 3, 4, 5 years out when you start to see real autonomy needed in the yard. And what we're bringing is this operating system layer, which is a unified visibility plus workflow plus this automation platform. And it immediately brings a level of ROI and cost benefit that compounds in the yard, which you just haven't seen. And so the chess move here might be that we're, digitizing the task, we're creating this data layer, and that makes that autonomous workflows inevitable for the yard, and provides us a good shot of being the industry's first transformation partner to deliver that autonomous yard of the future, and everyone's talking about and desires. So your Ryder is certainly on the leading edge of that desire to have the autonomous yard of the future.
You and I both know, and a majority of this audience knows, yards are complex. They're different. Every yard is different shapes, sizes, locations, layouts. Why build the operating system for a yard, if you want to say, to connect all the pieces to, I'll use the term, to modernize that yard?
Well, the yard is still somewhere in the 70% of yards in the industry today are clipboards, radios, spreadsheets, tribal knowledge, manual check-in, check-out, inconsistent, I'd say, data capture that creates unnecessary delays and what we call detention, demurrage, and even some safety exposure and pretty significant labor waste searching for assets. And the idea is with a yard operating system, we can modernize. We can not only digitize, take that 70% sort of greenfield digitize, but we can optimize and then begin to automate and begin that automation journey with this real-time visibility layer. So computer vision meets integrations, and then layering in now we have agentic workflow automation. So when you have gate acceleration, gate automation, yard operating workflows, you can now see a path from sort of this arcane dark ages to this autonomous yard of the future. And right now it is an airlocking system for transport data, which the yard often is the black hole where data goes to die when it needs to flow smoothly and seamlessly into the warehouse, so that you can compound the great automation that's happening on the warehouse front. It's being somewhat inhibited by the yard, and then more sophisticated, you're seeing real congestion that's inhibiting that WMS investment.
We're seeing, if you look at the logistics industry as a whole, we're seeing more and more automation. We're seeing large traditional companies such as DHL embrace it. We're seeing warehouse operators embrace it. From a yard perspective, is private equity rolling in? Because I had a conversation the other day around HVAC, that they started rolling up HVACs, and they started rolling up landscaping, and they started rolling up car washes, and all of a sudden, like, technology and optimization stepped in. Is private equity behind this, stepping in and rolling up these warehouses and these yards, that's enabling the technology to go? Or is it the industry is saying, okay, we really need this technology? What's really causing that?
It's an excellent question. where VC and private equity have historically played is where, frankly, it was easier beachhead to provide cost benefit and ROIs, and that's over the road transport. So you have multiple investments, IPOs there in the warehouse, same sort of investment, and the yard has been harder to ROIs, less people, less processes. So it's been a bit of an afterthought. And even we were on with a major enterprise prospect the other day, and they said we just viewed it as the cost of doing business. But now it is beginning to hurt our massive investment in the warehouse and massive investment in transport with delays, congestions, and regardless of how much robotics and autonomy, if we're delayed, if there's 30, 40% utilization issues that happen before it crosses into the warehouse, that's becoming an issue. So over the last, I'd say 3-4 years, you've seen as those investments have matured, they're now looking for the areas that are not digitized and are potentially causing challenges. And there have been in the market, because it wasn't as attractive to VCs and PEs, there's been, I call them mom and pop tech companies that have tried to tackle this industry. And so you've ended up with a slightly crowded group of underfunded tech companies that quickly turn into point solutions and have aged, dated tech, and often are not integrable, scalable, and certainly don't satisfy the enterprise customers. So I think it's hard for the private equity group to find really good properties in this space because they are underfunded, and the market has radically changed the last 2 or 3 years, where the modern tech stack has a real advantage over the older tech stack, especially with AI and Agentic. And now what we've built is a CV powered, computer vision powered platform. But nonetheless, I think there's probably a few plays in there that private equity are mulling through.
Computer vision's unlocked it for you. Before we get into your text, I want to get into that. I want to take a step backwards and look at another industry very similar to your industry, which plays a big part of logistics, the rail industry. Well, rail yards have always been a point of congestion where they have to pay the conductor and the other individual, 2 individuals, to sit there and wait till it can go into the yard. It was always a point of congestion. They started to automate that. And then they were able to automate that in certain areas, not all because of union issues. Optimization went through. What type of historical bottlenecks have you seen at yards that you're looking to overcome?
Well said. The traditionally, there's over 55,000 yards that qualify as moderate to sophisticated yards that have had various bottlenecks. Typically, the leading bottleneck is the planning and pre-arrival. Without the proper appointments and shipment integrations, it can lead to stalled check-ins. And even 2, 3, 4, 5 minute, and we were just on site where there was a 17-minute wait, so an hour and a half line of trucks down the street. And by the way, as we came in with our transformation view, we were able to take it from gate to dock in 8 minutes. So that's tremendous transformation, but that gives it a really good sense of the gate, the planning, the pre-arrival, and then the dated, antiquated, whether they're clipboards or they're multiple YMSs at a single guard shack or Excel. That's usually the first point of congestion. And if you get the data wrong there or provide congestion there, it compounds in the yard. And then you have assets that are not in the right staging zone, then get misplaced, then you're tracking down that asset, then they're late to their dock, and you have the whole system that now creates a 4-hour buffer instead of precision optimization on scheduling and in the check-in. So that tends to be where the initial bottlenecks are and the ROI.
And that bottleneck, as you and I know, it's not just contained to that one warehouse or one yard. That goes across the entire ecosystem and starts having bottlenecks that the American public experience, very similar to with the TSA and the government shutdown. It's a very similar thing to what your industry is doing. If you look at the traditional warehouse logistics industry, and you mentioned clipboards and Excel sheets, it's a lot of people that, I'll say it, are kind of stuck in their ways and they like to do things. How are they coming around and embracing this technology? Because no, this is the way we've done things for X amount of years. This is the way we're going to do things. How are you bringing those individuals in those companies around and say, hey, there's a solution here that's going to optimize your operations. And oh, by the way, it's going to have a positive effect on your bottom line.
Yes, I've been in heavy industries in my prior career selling big platforms, and you tend to have to leave the tech as secondary, outcomes are first. And so we lead with cost benefit positioning in the market is, hey, tech is great, AI is great, Agentic is great, CV is great. But if it doesn't improve your accuracy rate at the gate by 50, 40, 50%, is it really worth the change? If it doesn't improve your throughput by 30, 40, 50%, is it worth the change? And so we're looking for those modular changes where their pain points are. 4 or 5 asset management throughout the yard can be rather quickly a mess and contribute to that compounding congestion. And so if we can track with fixed and mobile cameras efficiently through computer vision, then we're able to provide a solution that, and again, with AI Agentic, the almost irrefutable benefits now is that you get 5-10 times the benefits, you get 1/3 to 1/2 the price, 1/3 the deployment time, 3 times easier to use. That's the promise of workflows in AI. And we now have that, and you're seeing that leads to the kind of ROI numbers that allow us to not only lead with ROI, cost benefit, and then the third piece typically is we're not only selling technology these days, but it's change management. When you're selling into an industry like this, you have to be empathetic towards what you just said, which is they've had 50-year-old processes, 10, 20-year-old tech, Excel, pretty, they're pretty happy-ish at the ground level with that, their normalcy. And you see this in healthcare and other industries until you come in with technology that makes their day better, improves their personal KPIs, their accuracy rate, their throughput, and that can be easily trained and easy to use, then you're just not going to get the adoption. And that's been the problem in the yard, is you have complicated, clumsy tech that's not integrated, not good change management included, and you just have a massive tech adoption problem that's existed for far too long.
You mentioned healthcare, and I'm going to nerd out with you for a moment. I've been studying the Da Vinci robots for medical surgeries, and I had no idea that that the doctors have to go through training, and they're not fully autonomous yet. You still have a doctor that's doing it, and the doctors that I've spoken to that are trained and use the Da Vincis have told me that for the healing process, there's less incision, more accuracy. And so now they're starting to see the benefits of using the Da Vinci robots and what it can do for their patients. So that's a win because the recovery time's less, the invasion, the wound is less. What are the key things when you're trying to be the change agent to get the individuals that have traditionally been here, perhaps their grandfathers and their fathers were in this industry, and say, hey, here's a new way of doing it. Oh, by the way, it's not just driving cars. Computer vision could make your life easier. How are you bringing that change about where it can become a tangible, relatable asset to them?
Yes, and I know the healthcare sector as well. And you're right; the Da Vinci leads to lower readmits and fantastically better outcomes. And part of what I try to sell, typically in my first couple of meetings or slide pitches, this bold vision of the lights out yard. That it's a comparable autonomous vision of the lights out in the warehouse. And what I'll try to help them see is in the not too distant future, you can imagine a self-managing 24/7 connected autonomous logistics hub with minimal human intervention. And can they make that investment part of their budget today to get on the proper journey with the right tech transformation partner that is thinking about how do you work backwards into the core software AI that's needed, the site infrastructure sensing, the autonomous physical assets, almost agnostic to whether it's drones, humanoids, AMRs, et cetera, in the yard, and then having flex on the business model. And so I think it's important to paint that picture of the art of the possible and the vision of the autonomous yard of the future, and then show them a journey, a map that helps their people transform. Not in some places we're seeing they want it as fast as possible, or rip and replace. Others, it's a transformation journey with us providing some change management to help them through that. And again, if you focus on the outcomes, the vision that that we're probably one of the best calibered companies and financially backed companies to attack this challenge. And it's a complex challenge that we can help start with that cost benefit ROI program.
You're right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You need the capital to be able to build because infrastructure is expensive. When you're putting the system into place with your computer vision, to me, you're creating a data point. And as an underwriter on the actual table, okay, new data point. Are you seeing any insurance savings across the board when your system is implemented because there's more and more data points to track?
I think it's an excellent question. We have so much to work through that insurance premium reduction is on the radar, but it's not something we have used as I think it certainly with safety, security, and overall, better accuracy, it should help. So we're relatively young still, but I think that's a good item to put on the docket for 2026.
I mean, you're young, but there's still a lot to do, and you're growing, and you still have a substantial footprint. To dive into the computer vision for a moment here, what type of algorithms are you running the computer vision? What are you looking for in the computer? Is it license plates? Is it TCP numbers? What is it that your system is trying to pick up? Or do you have thermal layer? What are you trying to pick up with your computer vision?
So that is an area that when 8VC and the strategic investors came together, one of their primary initial missions was, how do we solve computer vision for the yard? It's a complex technology. You see computer vision in the warehouse. It's hard. It's a lot harder than it looks. It requires PhDs, ML, computer vision driven, deep tech. And 8VC is one of our founding investor. And so they spent a good year plus building out specific over a dozen models to cover truck, chassis, trailers, containers, everything, over a dozen different types of IDs. So license plate, of course, DOT numbers, carrier rig ID, motor carrier numbers, VIN numbers, chassis ID, the whole list of a dozen. And it turns out it was non-trivial. It took millions of dollars. We're now at a point where we have the largest LLM model in the industry because of the real yard real data versus internet perfect data, which doesn't get you what you need. So our data mode is not just volume for volume's sake. It's sort of representativeness, as I call it. We have, and I think the way that we're able to have unique, high detection, high accuracy is things like real data around camera heights, distance, angle. That matters. Lighting shifts, the day-night glare, the occlusions, the decals, partial plates, the sort of dirty assets, and even things like pose variation, tractor trailer positions, the motion blur. So the more that we can own that in-house, which we have built that internally, that allows us to minimize retraining when we go from yard to yard, and becomes the most efficient way to continuously extract the data, not only at the gate, but then throughout the yard, so you have real-time asset tracking. Once you've done that, you can create this agentic workflows that lead to not only precision optimization, but automation through predictive decisioning, as well as autonomous decisioning. And it all starts with heavy CV models. And we feel we have the breakout technology. We haven't seen anyone with the detection and accuracy at our level. I could go on about that, but you scratched the surface there.
No, we're going to go on this because I'm actually writing a model now, and so I've been playing with a lot of open source and what you can build on top of open source. So you have your proprietary data. Have you used any open source models to accelerate that? Because we're seeing costs go from 96 to 90% decline using open models, and it's really truly disrupting, especially when you put a proprietary data set in some of these models today.
Yes, we're absolutely using open models. I would say that we have this. We do treat our process, the annotation, as core IP. So we run it like an engineering system. So curation, we select sort of balanced slices of the hard reality, not just kind of the easy frames, and then processing, where it's organizes, normalizes the data into that ML ready lake, and then we have the annotation. which is run in lockstep with our researchers and not just throwing stuff over the wall. And so the label taxonomy and edge case definitions are sort of, they evolve fast and they're more correct and accurate. So I think that curation, processing, annotation creates a loop that makes us, I think, a dominant player in the space.
When you were building the models, if you look at edge cases, we'll use two. So you have Texas where you can have a lot of dirt, a lot of wind. You have the Northeast where obviously you have snow. You have parts of the South where you have mud. In some cases, you have rocks and debris. How did you build the model to handle those? They're edge cases, but they're common occurrences in yards, especially some of the older yards that don't necessarily have pavement.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And sort of the honest and reassuring answer we give to many customers and prospects is, real yards are messy. There's occlusions, decals, motion blur, low lights, rain, snow, inclement weather. So we design it for reliability as best we can by having a strong site assessment and actually placing the camera in a safe zone, height, distance, angle guidelines. That's actually really important. And then we have this operational fallback view that blends the vision plus sort of minimal operational input when needed, so that we can have sort of that graceful degradation versus a brittle automation if there is a operational fallback needed because we couldn't detect properly. And we do that now. We're processing hundreds of thousands of trucks, and we do have those sort of exception cases. And then but as we add new sites, we have this continuous learning from the deployments, and that hardens the edge cases over time. And we just, we're continuously as transparent as we can about the winter low light edge cases, and we just pressure test broadly so that we're not having brittle automation. But that's the beauty and the benefit of having our own ML and model team, is that we can move quickly for training purposes.
How big is the ML team today?
Well, that's a little bit of our secret sauce, but it's over a dozen folks. We have some PhDs in there. So it's quite substantial.
But you hit the nail on the head. I was with a founder yesterday. I flew to San Francisco. I was on the ground for 6 hours. I went coast to coast, and I was on the ground for 6 hours to meet with a founder to experience their new tech. And this gentleman built this technology and made a car drive with 4 PhDs in ML models. Like, wow, okay. Is the need for the days, and you know this from your business. I won't ask you for exact numbers. You don't need to go hire 1,000 PhDs to build it. The number is getting smaller and smaller. And your firm, Terminal Industries, you're embracing camera because you're not using RFID. You don't need sensors all over the yard. How did you come to that conclusion that you could do this with a vision system?
Yes, and by the way, you are correct. You can do this as the systems become more and more efficient and effective. We can do it with less people. So our folks are not just ML, they're also data scientists, and we have agentic AI data lakes that we're working through. But I think the days of RFID, GPS everywhere, I think the market has found that due to things like interference and maintenance burden and sort of incomplete coverage, it's just become more of a clumsy asset that hasn't worked well. And so I think, as computer vision became a little bit more industrial grade, you had companies like Riders and others that were out testing and hoping that it would work well. And that was part of the strategic investments we received in the industry, was to help ensure that we could deliver this, visual asset, the computer vision, without requiring these tag signals everywhere, and make a more scalable, less invasive model. And with our cameras at the gate that are, again, high detection, high accuracy, and now RTLS systems on either spotter mover or lightweight robo throughout the yard, we're just finding it can be a much more efficient, effective way to avoid all that clumsy prior legacy 1.0 version.
You're increasing security because you're getting rid of the jamming issue, and you're increasing efficiency. And I'm going to keep comparing and contrasting this to the railroad industry. Large multimodal railroads have some, they call them NOCs or command centers, where they're able to oversee all of the freight rail. Your customers, do they have NOCs or control centers where they were overlooking the warehouses from the system? Or are you managing that for them? What does it look from an overview perspective?
It's certainly a patchwork. You'd be shocked at how many large, even enterprise players in this space have still manual, unmodernized nodes in the yard, and in some they're further along. But the goal is for them to have a command center for check-in, check-out at the gate, and you don't often see that. You see that is a goal that they have, and so we have this command center platform, application platform, and then the computer vision that can either augment gate guards through hybrid automation or complete automation where you don't. It's fully automated gate that has a command central control, and when a truck asset moves to the gate, and if there is some disconnect between the data that they have, then we have an edge case, exception case that creates a live call, and then the ability for central command to lift the gate. So, and then you take that into the yard, and that's what we're presenting now is a full dispatch yard command center ability, whereas before it was typically managed at the local node. And I think it's partially because many of the tech providers in this industry just didn't have the enterprise modern full tech stack approach when they built out their systems. And so they'll have on-premise systems, they'll have edge they'll have edge versus cloud, and it becomes hard to scale when you have multiple dozens or hundreds of sites. And even that we were born in the bellies, I'd say, of the Prologis, Ryder, NFI lineage, we came to market with an enterprise mindset. And you often don't see that. You'll see companies start with SMB, make their way to mid-market to enterprise. And we're fortunate to start the reverse and help enterprise and have higher impact.
You started at the right angle. I'll give a funny analogy. It's like, okay, so, all right, so you're on USB. Oh, I'm on USB-C. Oh, wait, they're not compatible. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, we got to start all over. Or this from airports and hotels, they got to rip it all out and put it back in to embrace the technology of where it's going. Walk us through the automation process. What is the fully automated yard and eventually look like? And eventually, what does it look like when we get to a dark warehouse? What does that whole entire automation process look like?
Yes. So the automation process, again, sort of begins with that in our yard operating system, we have 4 key pillars, key tenets. The first is a modern tech stack designed from the ground up that has the proprietary computer vision, that has cloud-based architecture, AI, ML, next-gen cameras, and then it has a reimagined YMS, so highly configurable, again, CV-driven, automated gate, real-time asset inventory within the yard, full orchestration of assets and that efficient scheduling. And then the third piece is having that single pane of glass for enterprises that is not only tailable, modular, configurable, but integrable with their TMS and WMS. And having that single command control center of that visibility of all their assets, I think is where the market's headed, because then you can begin that true autonomy in numbers. And then lastly, computer vision can be a bit of a trifecta in that it can capture the data on the assets, but it can also, that's visibility, it can also provide security, can provide damage detection. So now you've just almost doubled the market size and the growth in this sector, because their preference is to use a single camera system for both of those elements as well that are part of the yard operations. And so when you think of the autonomous yard of the future, I tend to also include this vision now, because we have this intelligent yard engine, and that's the I don't want to geek out too hard on you here, but if you've interviewed other agentic AI companies, you'll find that they're pretty giddy about the idea that it's almost game over for the SaaS companies. If you have clean data lakes, you can then create deterministic workflows, and then that allows you in the yard. We create this foundation of yard ontology, and maybe this is where Mike is leaning in on the chess move idea. Is that you can take the actors, let's say the drivers, spotters, dock workers, dispatchers, gate guards, assign specific attributes to them, even per yard, and then the assets, the trailers, the chassis, the containers, and then the core actions within that yard. So location request, hook trailer check-in, and then you can develop these workflow missions that execute a sequence of these actions. So you have these building blocks, these Lego blocks that help decode. Every yard has its own complexity. No yard is the same, and so you're now creating a decoder system that creates, has these complex operations into a universal Lego building block mode. And then you can apply, and I'm almost done geeking out on you, the dynamic chaining to all of those components. And you now have intelligent link missions that provide, I think when we get to autonomous trucks, you need the yard operating system that captures the pre-planning, that knows the scheduling, that has precision asset location, precision scheduling, precision dock movement. Without that, you're messing up that investment, right, in the AV. So having that dynamic chaining, and then you can layer on autonomous optimization rules around that. So you want to automate for minimizing dwell time or for certain docks or carriers. And so you have this ontology library of workflows that surprisingly carry over from yard to yard with additional modification, but the baseline carries over. And that you no longer become a YMS at that point. It is a true agentic workflow system that is continuously optimizing and then can trigger humans in the loop when needed if there's edge case issues. Done.
What you become efficient. What you described is efficiency. There's no other way to describe it but efficiency. And that's what you're...
If I could be more efficient with my intelligent yard engine description, but it is complex, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can, but we're pretty excited about it.
It's fantastic because I know we taught the insurances for later down the line, but you're getting a checkpoint of every which way it goes. So this is hypothetical. Let's say the autonomous truck rolls up, it goes through, and then let's just say it's a hybrid yard with human-driven trucks and autonomous trucks, and the slot is, say, 2 minutes behind schedule. Is it fair to assume that your system could autonomously, automatically reroute that to another bay? It automatically knows based on this delay here and just reroutes it to increase those efficiencies?
Absolutely. We have a demo that shows just that, where there's 50 trucks coming in a few hours. One is 20 minutes late. The staging area is now compromised, and the dock is unutilized for 28 minutes. And this is where I think the human cognitive load is too much. Once you have a modern to sophisticated yard with this many moves, you can easily fall behind, and that's why the trucks have 11 hours of utilization time, but on average right now they're at 6.5 hours, and more than half of that is caused because of the gate congestion. And so a big part of the cost benefit that we can provide is this yard operating system that then creates, especially the yard of the future, autonomous yard of the future, is it will create that coordinated autonomy, so that the pre-arrival, the appointment, load, compliance, route, all of that pre-advises the arrivals, validates the entry exit event, then coordinates that staging dock assignment and minimizes the human touch and increases the precision and accuracy around that.
I know you're not in the infrastructure business. You're in the efficiency business at the end of the day, and you just happen to have really cool tech that allows the efficiencies to work. But since you're building tech and your data scientists are building tech, and they're always coming up with new ideas, I could imagine what the whiteboards look like in your office. They're probably pretty cool. Are you ever thinking about how to redesign the gate entrances, make them larger, put them in other places to increase efficiency with your system to get more throughput?
Yeah, we're in a deal right now where, the guard is down because they don't have proper gate check-in, check-out, that they check in before the gate, before the fenced gate. And so that one's an easy one. We do see, because we see so many yards, we're starting to see enterprise accounts look at us for strategic insights on best practices. And I do, as we continue to rework workflows in the yard that create greater accuracy, more precision, more throughput, efficiency, and labor reduction. I think there are design elements. You'll see some are worried about maybe the Prologists of the world that greater efficiency leads to less utilization of their yard. Our view is that certainly in the near to midterm, it actually allows them to get more turns and greater utilization of that real estate. And as the market continues to expand 10% a year in the warehouse, I don't see that we're going to truncate yards, but I do think there are design opportunities. I don't know, I don't have a slate of those yet, but I think it's an excellent question.
How much of this is driven by the consumer? And I ask that because the Amazon effect, the first effect was free shipping. Second Amazon effect was 2-day. Then it was 1 day. Now it's 2 hour. DoorDash and Uber Eats taking us to 1 hour. The consumer doesn't want to wait anymore. And if you have a customer and they've got 100 trucks lined up to get into the yard, that consumer is not going to get their product, and it's going to be a trickle-down effect. How much are consumers driving the push towards optimization and automation?
Yeah, I think certainly in a post-COVID world, high e-commerce accelerant world, I have 3 daughters, and our e-commerce bill went through the roof. So I can attest that we put the supply chain at peril at one point. But I think that's what's created this wave over the last 2 years, post COVID, sort of immediate tech and supply chain hangover issues. They're now looking at where are the nodes that were least effective and efficient, and yard continuously is shown as the most unmodernized part of the supply chain. And so if we can get, and waste is profound. So the supply chain world, as the 3 main categories: over the road, yard, and warehouse. And the overall spend is upwards of $3 trillion. That's almost 1/10 of the GDP. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 15% of that is wasted spend by the transport industry. That's over $300 billion in waste. And we found, McKinsey, Gartner said somewhere in the $100 billion of that is in the yard itself, just inefficient handoffs and congestion. And the fact that you're taking a truck that could have 11 hours utilized down to 6, and greater than half of that is because of the yard. I think it as more shopping goes online, that issue will compound unless the issue is solved, right? And it is the gate. You won't have automation through the dock, the warehouse, unless the yard is automated. That data will go to die and fall, and it'll just be back into a slumbering manual process, especially when you have autonomous vehicles. And I do think everything is the warehouse, transport. It's all the autonomous economy. Yard of the future is part of that self-managing logistics hub, and we need to get there. And I think we've built the yard operating system that'll get us there. Of course, I'm wildly biased.
I'm biased because Mike likes you, so we're in good company there, and Mike's a good friend. When autonomous trucks are rolling in real numbers, fleets by the thousands, does your yard automation system integrate with that truck, or when does the handoff happen? Does it happen when it arrives, or where does it happen when the autonomous truck is rolling into the autonomous yard?
So it does start with that planning pre-arrival and the integrations. And one of the important value propositions to our business is seamless integration. And so we built a integration framework layer that we think is better than anything in the industry. It's modernized, it's different, and that's critical to see. So the arrivals are known, they're verified. They're assigned before the truck hits the gate, and that path is, so that integrate, standardize the data capture, automate the gate, then orchestrate the autonomous vehicle yard to the dock and coordinate all that with autonomy. And it all starts with that planning pre-arrival integration. And we're seeing that today. And that's one of the things we work closely.
Darin, in my opinion, Terminal Industries is building the future. In your opinion as CEO, sir, what is the future of Terminal Industries?
Thank you for the question. Our mission is to reinvent yard logistics, making goods flow better, faster, cheaper, and cleaner. And we think we can be that transformation partner to the holy grail of the autonomous yard of the future. And it starts with that yard operating system and that transformation of the yard from the gate to yard to dock, and then into the robotics world and into the AV world we go. So the future is big. And then when you add security and our TAM and the growth, I just couldn't be more excited about the opportunity here.
The opportunity's massive. The future of yards is automated, and Terminal Industries are going to build the automated yards of the future. The future is bright. The future is autonomous. The future is Terminal Industries. Darin, thank you so much for coming on the road to autonomy today.
Thank you for having us, Grayson. Appreciate the time.